Okay, so what I want to, I've been kind of watching the bunny problems that we have, and we did a class on this last semester, but which was interesting. It was cool. It was a very cool class. But I thought, you know what? Let me come back to it because I feel like I have some things to say. I have some things I want to say about this. So first off, go to the first slide. So I pulled up CNN yesterday morning or yesterday afternoon or whenever it was, and these are two headlines. And I thought, my God, we are a very interesting nation. You know what I mean? It's CNN, right? So whatever it is. I mean, CNN obviously leans left. But probably Fox or any other news outlet would have a very similar headline. And I thought, this is kind of wild. That how we can have very different perspectives on something that seems like it really wouldn't be that controversial. It's an entertainer that's entertaining at a football game. But somehow it becomes this major controversy. And what I want to do is try to just have a conversation about it, say some things, and then I'll open it up to some questions when I'm finished. But to kind of help put some perspective on this and how it is that, people could have very different understanding of things. So first, okay, let me say something about Puerto Rico. So the U.S. acquired Puerto Rico in the war against Spain at the end of the 19th century. So we acquired, right? It was a Spanish territory, and we acquired it. And these are some things. By the way, this is the most I'm ever going to have on a slide ever, the entire semester. So, it's a territory, and we own it, basically. And Puerto Ricans are U.S. citizens. And that means that we have an island of people who are citizens, and the primary language is Spanish on this island. So, we can say, it's English is not the official language of the United States, but it certainly is the language of Puerto Rico because it is the language of Puerto Rico. Even though most everybody also speaks Spanish, it is the dominant language in Puerto Rico. So if you've been to Puerto Rico, well, for me, as someone who's not a native speaker of Spanish, it doesn't sound like Spanish to me because Puerto Ricans speak so fast, man, that I can hardly keep track of it. But these are citizens. Puerto Ricans can vote in the presidential primaries, but not in the elections. Okay, so I don't know. So that has some meaning for sure for deciding who's mostly going to be probably going to be voting. Well, I don't know if we're going to mostly vote Democrat, so it's more important in Democratic primaries, but also has a voting representative. So there are actually, instead of 435 representatives, we have 437 because there's one in Puerto Rico and one in Guam, but they don't vote. They don't have any power. So they go around Congress and they make arguments for certain things, but they can't vote. Okay? And Puerto Ricans pay local, state, and most federal taxes, but just not federal income taxes. So that means Puerto Ricans pay, and citizens in Guam, by the way, pay into Social Security, they pay into Medicare. So if you know Puerto Ricans who get Social Security, it's because they paid into it their whole lives. And so it's important to see this. And Bad Bunny, this artist, is from Puerto Rico. So you can imagine that Puerto Rico is really important for him. You just sort of start there. Just like many artists have areas of the country or part of their lives that are really important for them. There's a tribe called Red, is a hip hop group of Native Americans that has come out of the Navajo community out in Arizona and New Mexico. And they sing about life on the reservation. And Bad Bunny sings or raps about life in Puerto Rico to a great degree. So okay, that makes a lot of sense. This is very much, Puerto Rico is very much part of the United States. So, see, you have to say, like, all right. We have a kind of it's a strange relationship because, as kind of the owners of a territory, but it nonetheless is like, all right, this is kind of, all right, go to the next slide. And by the way, about half of the island of Puerto Rico, the eligible voters, voted in 2020 for full U.S. statehood. They're like, yeah, we want to be the 51st state in the United States. But half of Puerto Ricans are going, you know what, we kind of like, a small segment are saying we want complete independence. We don't want to be part of anything. We just want to be our own nation. But, a lot of people, they look at some other nations that have that, like Haiti, and they're like, I'm not so sure that's a good idea. So other people are like, let's stay where we're at. So there's a lot of conversation in Puerto Rico, also in Guam about this. But a much smaller number of people in Guam are arguing for full U.S. statehood. People in Guam mostly are saying, like, okay, and Guam, by the way, is an island in the South Pacific. It's basically a military base for the United States. And so, like, okay, there we go. All right, so here, take a look at this. We have 340 million U.S. citizens, approximately, in the United States, obviously, right? 44 million, that's 14% are Spanish speakers, meaning that they really speak Spanish. And so they speak Spanish in the home, they speak Spanish with their relatives. Spanish is really the second language in the United States. And so now you might say, well, why is that? Why don't they learn English? Right? Well, people do. And immigrants today are most like immigrants throughout our history. That, the first generation mostly hangs on to their language. And if you've tried to learn a language, and most of you have tried, you've been forced in high school or forced in college to learn a second language, and you've failed. Most of you have failed. Either A, because you didn't put enough time into it, or B, just because it's too difficult. And so imagine now moving to Kuwait, or moving to Puerto Rico, or moving to Germany, or moving somewhere where you got to learn the language. Korea. I've been trying to learn Korean for 3 years. I can't even having a conversation just to say one word in Mandarin, one sound in Mandarin. And I'm like, I can't, it's so hard. My brain it's so hard to do that. So imagine that you move somewhere to China and you got to learn Chinese. If you're the age that most of you are, that all of you are, you're probably going to give up pretty soon. You're going to learn enough that you need to learn, but imagine being the age of your parents or being my age when it's really not, you're just going to get by. Okay, so people do that. So there are a lot of Spanish speakers. They come here, they're of a certain age, and they're like, okay, I'm going to learn enough English. And then I'm going to kind of stop at some point because I'm going to live in some kind of community where people speak a lot of Spanish. Like in Miami, when I go to Miami, I speak in Spanish in Miami. I can just go anywhere in Miami and just go to the get a coffee at the Starbucks and just speak in Spanish. And they're going to speak back in Spanish. Everybody speaks Spanish. And so I'm like, yeah, all right, that's cool, right? Most people, by the second generation, the children of people who immigrated, the vast, vast majority learn the language of their new home. That's true here. It's true all over the world. It's as true today as it was 100 years ago, right? And so, in most of places around the world, when you try to speak someone's language, most people receive you in a positive way. Sometimes maybe people don't. It's like, you should speak English better, right? If you get that response, then you're not going to really keep learning it. You're going to be, well, F it, man. I'm going to keep learning. I'm going to just stick with my language, okay? So here, so 44 million, that's a lot of Spanish speakers. So why is that? Well, look here. This is at the time that this nation was being established, look, Spain, the Spanish Empire, either had control over or influence over more than 2/3 of the United States. When the U.S. was established, all these people were speaking Spanish, except the Native Americans who were living in or they weren't reservations at the time, but living all over that part that's red and part that's pink. At the time this nation established. So look, what happened was, it's not that Spanish speakers are taking over the United States. It's the United States really took over Spanish people who were Spanish speakers. So it's like, okay, well then what happened, right? Well, go to the next slide. Look at the pink here on the left side. That's all Mexico. So 1835, 25 years before the Civil War, that's all Mexico. Going all the way up to what is now Oregon and Washington. It's like, this is all Spanish speaking. It's kind of interesting. It's like, whoa, no wonder we have so many Spanish speakers. When you go to the Southwest, my wife and I went to the Southwest. We flew into Phoenix 2 years ago because we wanted to see what was going on with immigration. So we went in the Southwest. We flew into Phoenix. We got a car and we went due south. Everywhere we went, people were speaking Spanish. On the reservations, we went to Native American reservations, people were speaking Spanish. White people speaking Spanish. Black people speaking Spanish. Spanish speakers, people of Spanish ancestry speaking Spanish. People spoke English also, but everywhere was just Spanish. It's like, yeah, of course. Because the United States overtook this whole area of this country that is Spanish speaking. So, when you think, it's really fascinating, right? Now, go back. All right, so look. Can you go back one, actually? So you see the purple part? And then kind of going up a little bit in the pink to the left of the purple part? That's all Brazil. Brazil was a Portuguese colony. So the Pope, in the Treaty of Tordesillas, the Pope divided the world up between Spain and Portugal, the Western world, the New World. And Portugal got that part, and Spain got everything else. And so when Bad Bunny, the other day, and by the way, I'm not a big Bad Bunny fan. I'm really not a Bad Bunny fan at all. I mean, I like artists who people who can stand up on stage like a Taylor Swift. Sometimes I watch these folks, man, and I'm just like, how do you do that? How do you do that? Like right now, sometimes I go outside on myself and I'm down here by myself. There's nobody supporting me. It's me. And I think, dude, how do you have the cojones to do that? Why do you think that anybody is interested in anything you have to say? Why do you think you have anything to say? And why would you expect them to listen to you? Taylor Swift, Bad Bunny, one after another. It's like, dude, how do you go out on stage with a microphone, man? Just you and a microphone, and go do what you do. Taylor Swift, same thing. How do you do it? All of these artists like that. I have such high regard for people's ability to do that and what that takes, Okay, but I'm not a Bad Bunny. I'm not the music. I'm not really into trap music, I'm not into reggaeton. I like reggae. But it's just like, look, the beat, I'm a drummer, okay? I play hand drums, but I play a trap set. I started playing a trap set when I was 12. And so I'm really into drums, and I'm into the snare drum, but, man, it's just too much. It just gets, sometimes I'll put trap music or reggaeton on when I'm working at home, kind of doing in my office. I put music on, and I'll put a channel on. Like I'll put music from Sierra Leone or Tunisia. I'll find a radio station in Tunis, and I'll put it on, and I'll listen to Tunisian radio all day long. I'm an ethnomusicologist. Like, I love music from all over the world. So I listen to Bad Bunny and I listen to reggaeton, but it's not my thing, man. I'm just like, these beats they're complex and they're interesting, but they're too similar. They don't do it for me. But as an artist, to do that stuff, I'm like, man, that's pretty intense. So when he said the thing about God bless the Americas, right? And God bless America. God bless America is Canada, U.S., Mexico is North America, okay? We don't know, we think it's named after Amerigo Vespucci. He was an Italian map maker that traveled with Columbus on some of the voyages. And then you have Central America, and then you have South America, but it's all the Americas. So when you're in South America, you talk about Los Americanos. They're all Los Americanos. So when Bad Bunny said at the end, God bless America, he said, God bless the whole continent, North and South and Central America. And so that's why all those flags come out. It's like paying homage, and including the U.S. flag, the Canadian flag, the Mexican. It's paying homage to all of these people who have been such a part of the United States. And the U.S. has played such a role in Latin America, in the history of Latin America, and how Latin American economy and politics have played out over time, that, man, we are all in this together. So when he said that, I was like, okay, that's cool, man, that's cool. Like, show that, because that's a really good thing to really begin to understand. Also, there's another thing you need to know. In Spanish, we call people from the United States estadounidense, los estadounidenses. Soy estadounidense. I am United Statesian. But we don't have that in English. I can say I'm from the United States, but in Spanish, when I'm speaking Spanish, I say soy estadounidense. I'm United Statesian. So that's really an important piece here. See, here we think, we sort of, we just over the years, we start saying like, okay, I'm American. Yeah, I'm American. And we all know what that means. But sometimes I'm in South American manner, I'm with Latinos, and I'll be like, yeah, I'm American. And they'll be like, dude, wait, what? It's like, I'm American too. Like I had a roommate from El Salvador, and he was always like, dude, I'm American. I'm like, yeah, you're from El Salvador. He's like, I'm American. He was always pushing that. We always had fun with it, but this is a thing, so understand that. And you'll see this, EEUU, right? EEUU, that's the United States in Spanish instead of USA, okay? So here, let me show you. There's the US. Okay, so here's the US population. Take a look here, man, on the left. Under the age of 18, Hispanics and Latinos, 26% in 2020, 26% of the U.S. population under the age of 18 are Hispanic or Latino, okay? And Latino includes Brazil. But look at 2060, 32%, man. And these people are going to be speaking Spanish because it's part of a culture. It's very much part of a culture. And it's like, my ancestors came from England, from Ireland, and they lost Irish. None of them spoke Irish, right? I go back to Ireland and I have to hear people speaking Irish. But I have ancestors from France, ancestors from Germany. They all gave up the language because they came here. And they came here specifically, but the U.S. came to Spanish-speaking America. And like, okay, the people are going to keep speaking. They're going to learn English too, but they're going to continue to speak Spanish, okay? Now, look at age 65 or over. That's 21% in 2060. Of people age 65 or over are going to be Hispanic and Latino. And almost every one of them is going to speak Spanish at some level. They're also going to speak English, but they're going to speak Spanish, okay? All right, let me show you something. Okay, go to the next one. So, look, what's it mean for the United States? This is a map of change in the foreign-born population in the United States. The greener it is, the higher the percentage of change of foreign-born Americans, foreign-born people in those counties. These are all counties. Y'all, man, there's a change happening in the United States. And the change is growing numbers of foreign-born residents who have come to the United States or inhabited the United States in the past 40 years. And that's a lot of change. And, that's a lot to deal with. Because this is change. Change is it's difficult to deal with. Okay, but understand that. We're going through a big transformation here. Okay, hold that for a second. Go to the next one, man. All right, so for me, let me say something about me really fast. That's not a problem for me, okay? It's not a problem for me personally. But I don't have the idea that it should not be a problem for you or other people. It's just not a big problem for me. Why? Because I travel, I've been to 50 countries. I've been to many of them, probably 10 of them, like 6, 8, or 10 times. I've spent 3 years of my life living abroad. I speak Spanish. I have friends all over the world. The fact that the United States is more global is not a problem for me, personally. But, go to the next one. But if I didn't have that, if this wasn't my job, I would look at that map of people of how there are more and more foreigners. Everywhere I turn, I'm seeing people from different countries around me. They're working at the 7-Eleven, they're working at the Home Depot, they're pumping my gas. My accountant wasn't born in the U.S. My lawyer wasn't born in the U.S. My doctor, the nurse, it's everywhere. In some places, everywhere you turn, there are all these people who weren't born here. And if I didn't really understand that or really call that in, I'd feel some kind of way about it. Maybe and it doesn't mean I'd be racist or ethnocentric or something like that. It just means that I'd feel unsettled because it's the future. It's not my history. It's not my culture. And so, for example, let me just say, if you're African American and you move to the Southwest, and your African American culture is really important to you, you move to the Southwest. It's not going to be that important. Because it's going to be about Hispanic culture, it's going to be about Native American culture, it's going to not be about African American culture. Or if you suddenly imagine that 30 years from now, Nigerians became just dominant force in the United States, and suddenly black culture becomes Nigerian culture. How would that be? It's like, wait, but I'm not Nigerian. Why is it suddenly Nigerian culture everywhere? Yeah, well, because Nigerians, so many millions and millions of Nigerians came here, and that just became part of black culture here, and that's kind of the leading edge of black culture. So, you'd feel some kind of way about that. And, and the future's uncertain. So when I hear people oh my God, I don't know about this Bad Bunny thing, it's like it's the Super Bowl. Go to the next slide. It's the Super Bowl, man. There's nothing more American than the Super Bowl. And how do we get to Bad Bunny speaking in Spanish? And wait, he's only speaking in Spanish? Wait, what? I'm not so sure. I don't know how I feel about that. There's always a line that every one of us would feel uncomfortable. So, there are people you're gonna feel uncomfortable. It's yeah, Bad Bunny, damn. Especially if you don't know the history of Spanish speaking in this country and you don't know the history of Puerto Rico. It's yeah, okay. We got how many, what Super Bowl was this? 70? What is that? What is it? 60? Okay, so we have 60 Super Bowls, 60 of them. On the 60th one, we have someone speaking in Spanish. We got 44 million Americans speaking Spanish. Like, all right, that's cool. That's all right. Okay? So, but just because you don't like it doesn't mean you're racist or ethnocentric or bigoted or something. It very much can mean like you're just not entirely comfortable. It's like, man, we're all going to be uncomfortable with something. Man. Okay, so here, let me show you this. But let me get to the point here, okay? The real point. One thing you're not uncomfortable with is capitalism. U.S. football, 410 million global followers and fans. Okay? Look at soccer or football. Up to 5 billion around the world. Okay? 410 million, up to 5 billion. Okay? Now, here's what I want you to do. I want to put you in the shoes of the NFL owners. Go to the next slide. Okay? The average value of a team in 2024 was $5.7 billion. And today, just 2 years later, 1.5 years later, not even 2 years later, 7.1. Meaning the value of these teams are going up. That's a big investment, right? You know how you make money on an NFL team? You get more fans. Man, you get more fans. Have you wondered why the NFL, the MLB, Major League Baseball, the NBA, basketball, you ever wonder why they're like playing more and more games around the world? Why is the NFL playing a game in London? Why are they going to Tokyo and playing? Why are they going down to South America? Because they want more fans. Want more fans, man. Like you can only, here, let me show you this. And new fans, by the way, any new fan, go back. Any new fans are going to be young people. You're going to be young people. Not going to be old people like me. They're going to be young people. So you want it, man, you want to go. It's a business decision. Go here. Go to the next one. Look at these ticket prices. I just pulled this up today. Highest is in Philly, by the way, $475. Who can afford to go to a game, man? Who can afford to go to every game? It costs a lot of money. Imagine you're going to take I'm a dad, I got 2 kids, I don't want to take my sons to a football game because I went with my dad, and I want to, go back, right there, stay right there. And I want to go back I want them to have the same experience I did. And like, I got to shell out over $1,200, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, damn. Okay, well, but the owners are going, hey, we paid a lot of money for these teams. We pay the players a lot of money. We need to get more money. So you're not going to pay more. We got to go somewhere else to get money. And so, yeah, the get-in average, by the way, in the NFL is $156. That's what I paid a few weeks ago. I was up in Winnipeg, and I went to a Winnipeg Jets game, and my wife and I paid $300 for 2 tickets, and they weren't really that good. The tickets weren't. I'm like, who the hell? I'm sitting there with all these people, and I'm thinking, you're all rich people, because like if you're going to all these games, like how do you do this? Because, damn. Okay, so let me ask you this question. All right, you're an NFL owner. Who do you want playing the Super Bowl, man? Who do you want? Who do you want? You want to attract new fans. You want to attract new fans. You want young people, because that's who you're going to get. Not old people. You know, Hank Williams for me, but like whatever. Ozzy. Ozzy Osbourne. You want he's dead. Okay, so who you gonna go with? You're gonna go with whoever the hottest act is. Always. You're gonna go with that. It doesn't matter. You can play along. You know, you got politicians chirping out here about this is un-American, brother. Like, yeah, this is kind of un-American. Like, yeah, oh God, yeah, this guy, he's speaking in Spanish, whatever. Over here, you're going like, yo, man, bring on the bunny, man. We need more bunnies. Let me show you something. Look at this right here. Go to the next one. Bad Bunny, 2019. Bad Bunny's number 5. 2021, number one. 2022, number one. Taylor Swift knocks him down to number two. Taylor Swift in the weekend knocked him down to number three. 2025, Bad Bunny's back up, number one. Man, if I'm an NFL owner, I want the bunny. Man, you know what I mean? Like, whatever. Dude, Bunny, come do your thing. And especially because he's going to perform for free. You know what I mean? This is capitalism. And then look, here, 108 million Spotify listeners. Here, look, 84 billion YouTube views, 51 million subscribers. Kid Rock has 3.1 million YouTube subscribers. Bad Bunny's got 51 million. Kid Rock, his most popular video, has 600 million. Bad Bunny has 19 with over 1 billion listens on Spotify. That's not a critique of Kid Rock. It's like the dude's like, he's amazing, man. I watched his performance. I watched both performances, and Kid Rock's, he's on that stage alone, man, with the microphone, and you can be like, oh yeah, look at that guy. That's like really whatever. Yo, man, you try that. You try that. Like, you know what I mean? You get up. You get up on stage with a microphone, man. You got, what do you have, this white shorts on and whatever? You do that. Man, that takes, I'm like, dude, I give you all the credit in the world for that. I dislike certain things that you say and whatever. I mean, I wouldn't say them, I don't like that, but like, holy smokes, man. But you're no Bad Bunny. And they didn't call on Kid Rock to play the Super Bowl halftime. And next year, God willing, it will be Taylor Swift. And the next year after that, God willing, it will be some other international artist that we can bring more fans in. Because that's capitalism. Oh my God, BTS. Blackpink, y'all, right? BTS or Blackpink. BTS is getting back together, you know what I mean? Imagine next year at the Super Bowl. Holy smokes, man. You got all of Asia. You get the whole world. BTS is like dominated the world. So anyway, this is just a way to help like understand some of this stuff, right? It's like really, it's okay. You know, you want to understand how it is that we get into these conflicts with one another, but don't get caught up in the conflicts. Really kind of see what's going on, because that's what a class like this can teach us, to see these things from lots of different perspectives. Okay? Cool?